Okay, it is 9 o'clock on Wednesday, December 26, 2018, and I call the Potter County Commissioners Court to order. The preacher that we had coming today has not appeared yet, so Commissioner Charles will lead us in prayer, so please stand for that and remain standing for the pledges.
Pray with me, please. Almighty God, creator of all things, both seen and unseen, we thank you for all the gifts that you've given us, our families, our friends, all the employees of Potter County. But we especially thank you this time of year for your greatest gift, the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Savior. We ask you to give us wisdom and patience and all that's needed to make the decisions that are important for Potter County today. We ask you to look over and bless all of our employees, all of the first responders, our military, who many don't have a chance to have time off this time of year. We ask you all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, first thing on the agenda is the recognition of minutes from the December 10, 2018 Commissioners Court and December 12, 2018 Special Commissioners Report. If there's no changes or corrections to that, so recognized. Number 2, vouchers to consider and act upon the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the County Auditor's Office for the period December 5, 2018 through December 19, 2018. Check numbers 183614 through 183843 and wire transfers 1172 through 1175 in the amount of $604,705.10.
Make a motion that we approve as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Which one did you Okay. Yes. Number 3, insurance report, to recognize that. Kay, is there anything substantial you want to talk about?
No, there's nothing unusual.
Okay, just a question in terms of the claims, the high claim that we threw. I know last time we transferred some dollars from contingency. Are we stable? Are we?
Well, that transfer is not showing yet on his claims run. It should show on the next, insurance report. You know, it's impossible to tell what kind of claims are going to hit until they're received. I know that we have one other newborn that I've not seen the claims that I would really expect to see on that newborn, so we may have some more claims coming through. But I don't know, I can't be positive just what kind of claims are gonna get on the newborn.
And is there, I'm not sure if the committee has met at all to think of any other strategy other than contingency, because I know that one took a big hit. I don't know that there's enough in there to last through the year if that's the only line item. I don't know if the committee's met and wrestled with that yet.
We have not met, and that may be something we need to do to see what other avenues there may be.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kay. So recognized. Yeah. Mr. Moore, I'm so sorry we had to start with that.
I apologize.
But that's
It's already
okay.
me.
You're welcome to stay and listen to all you want.
All right.
Okay. Number 5, treasurer's report to recognize monthly treasurer's report. Leanne is out today, so Brooke is here. Welcome, Brooke.
Okay, for our general operating account this morning, Amarillo National Bank is 2.55%. It has $7,977,918.94. Texas Class is paying 2.54%. It has $1,792,705.84. Tex Pool 2.32% has $410,163.04. And taxable prime is paying 2.53% with $16,325,958.05. For a total of $26,506,745.87.
Did you say taxable prime 2.53 at 16 million?
How much?
2.53.
You talk too fast.
Oh, I do,
With all the volatility of our stock market, can you have a allowance of and all the, I'm sorry, it's kind of.
That was a test.
Yeah, I was like,
The look on
I
her
don't do
face.
this, Leanne handles all this, I just, am doing it for today.
You might, just pass on to Leanne, it looks like we're pretty top heavy on, like 16 million at 2.53 and 7 million at 2.55, and then just 1 million under Texas class with 2.54. Doesn't feel on the outside very diversified with such close basis points. Usually it's a little more,
Right now, we're moving money back and forth because the tax dollars coming in, and I
Okay.
think that's just where she chose to put it
Just
for
a
right now
timing
until
thing.
it all settles down at the end of the year and then we're doing it.
okay, sounds good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next one.
The five tax office to consider and act upon tax refunds for overpayment of taxes. We just have that one. Hi, Sherry. So just the one, huh? Just the one right now.
I believe that we approved the tax refund for the claim that was presented today.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry, quick question, how are we doing overall collections, compared to last year? It's kind of always how I like to think about it,
We're running about the same.
about the same, okay, thank you.
Number 6, resolution, Texas Indigent Defense Commission to consider and act upon a resolution for the 2019 Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program. Gary.
This is just the grant we've been a part of, I believe since 2001, specific grant application.
Are we pretty much, on a even keel as far as, expenditures annually?
Yes, if you look at the second page, it outline what we've done over the past several years, just so you can have some good trend.
Don't get caught up.
But we'll take whatever we can.
Yeah.
We'll have to take it.
You should be trying to.
I move we approve the resolution for the 2019 Indigent Defense Formula Grant Program.
Second, for a quick comment, Judge, I was just gonna share, as I look at the formula, 2020 coming up is obviously a heated topic around census. And, the census, as I like to describe it, it's a magic part of almost every formula we use, the grant dollars, and I mean, you name it. So this, I just wanna call this out, because you'll probably hear me mention the census in particular a lot in 2019 as we like to get ready for it. But you'll notice that it's all based on population, right? And so whoever's counted in our county. And I've been doing some research, and I'll bring that to the court about locally, what does that federal topic look like and mean to us locally in terms of dollars? So I'll have something to bring, but in particular, since this formula carries attachment here, show census population, I wanted to just call that out quickly.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Number 7, Texas Forest Service Helping Hands Program to consider and act upon the donation of radios no longer useful by Potter County Fire Department to the Texas Forest Service Helping Hands Program. Richard, morning, Chief.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Pretty good, how are y'all?
Good.
I've, got a list of all of the radios that we have, and, we have done a complete inventory on them through the purchasing department, Daniel, and, me and Chris talked about it the other day. These are all of the radios that were assigned to the fire department, and all but 2 of them have been accounted for. And the 2 that have not been accounted for have been lost on wildland fires. One of them was several years ago, not too long after we got them, we never recovered it. And we lost one last year that we, We looked for it for several days afterwards and never found it. And there's a hose load of fire hose somewhere out there with it that we never found that either, so. We have definitely lost a couple of them, and some of them are not usable, but this is the entire list of radios, and we're hoping to be able to spread this out throughout the Panhandle area. And talking to the regional coordinator for the Forest Service here in the Panhandle, we're gonna make sure these radios stay within our area to help the other departments that we help on a regular basis.
So you never found it, huh? So somewhere out there is a squirrel just sitting around.
Well, the thing is, on the ones that we've lost on incidents, a lot of times we're running road graders, bulldozers, and trucks and everything else out there, so they're probably smashed up.
You had a pretty aggressive, engaging, agenda last year too, so, stand to reason.
Yeah, the one that we lost last year, we got the sheriff's department to come out, we flew a drone, we looked for it. We, like I say, we lost a load of hose with it, and we looked for it for several days. We went out with fire and we never found it.
Judge, what was the name of the program, we talked about it last court, that the sheriff's office donated to on the other radios?
It's landed positive.
I'm sorry,
Randall County Posse.
Randall County Posse, okay. And that was for search and rescue, if I remember right, okay. So this is all part of that same fleet of radios that are getting off the inventory list, is that right?
This is everything in the fire department. All of ours were bought through a FEMA Fire Act grant. So all of these were, all of these were grant radios.
And
When you deal with the other jurisdictions, you give these radios to them?
Yes, that's what
Will they
we're,
come off of our inventory or?
yes, they will come off of our inventory and they will be their radios.
the only thing that caught my attention, Chief, is since it was Texas Forest, I didn't know if there was an interlocal, I was expecting something different since they were an entity, that they accept the donation versus, you know, a small program, like the Posse, the search and rescue, it was just more of a local grassroots
Yeah.
to accept it.
The Texas Forest Service Helping Hands program has been in, effect for over 20 years, I believe. And basically what it is anytime you donate to that program, you're relieved of the responsibility of taking care of it, so it's not like you've loaned any equipment or given anything away. I mean, they take it and divide it up amongst the departments. And what they've started doing is in the past, probably 4 or 5 years, they've started sticking to the region where the donations were made. It used to be that everything's put in the trailer and taken to Lufkin and then split up from there. But here in the last 4 or 5 years, the program has changed to where the regional fire coordinator can take it, and everything that we say we want to stay local will stay.
I make a motion that we approve donating the radios no longer in use by Fire County Fire Department to the Texas Forest Service Helping Hands Program.
Second.
Have a motion and a second on the favor, Regina. 5-0. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Number 8, Westlaw Legal Research Contract, to consider and act upon the annual renewal of the Westlaw contract for web-based legal research at Cottingham Detention Center. Sheridan's not here today, anybody from this department, so Carrie, can you add anything to that, or?
This is just a service that we've provided for years, and it's the annual renewal.
Is
This
this?
is added to detention center.
Yes.
It's 14 cents.
I'm sorry. I move to, approve the renewal of the Westlaw contract for web-based legal research at White County Detention Center. Second.
Have a motion and a second on the favor, Regina. 5-0. Number 9, tech share, to consider and act upon the 2019 tech share court resource sharing addendum. And Judge Jackson's not here. Do we have anything on that we need to talk about, Carrie, or? No?
Well, our annual cost is gonna be $67,946.99. The general fund has $66,000 budgeted, so we will have to take the remainder out of their,
Technology.
And the remainder is,
$1946.99.
Carrie, we had talked about a couple years ago that we would take half of the maintenance from their technology fund and half in general. Are we still doing that?
No, they don't bring in enough money to sustain that for a period of time. We did it the first
2 years, okay. And it was 67, what I'm saying?
67, 946, 99.
And this is just for the JP package?
Yes.
How does that compare to last year? I don't know if I mean, we expect some increase, I just wanna make sure it's not a 50% jump, a 40% jump.
No, I didn't calculate the percentage, but I would guess it's less than 5.
Okay.
I can email y'all with the percentage increase.
Move to approve the 2019 tech share, court resource sharing addendum. Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Did you vote, Commissioner? Okay, let's see, sorry. Okay, 5-0. Number 10, Commissioners Court Advanced Curriculum to recognize Commissioner Leon Church as having completed the advanced curriculum and received a certificate conferring designation as certified county Commissioners Court member. Congratulations on that. Took how long? 5.5 years. That's a lot of school, isn't it? Well, congratulations on that. Yes, congratulations. Number 11, official bonds for county officers, recognize and approve official bonds for county officers. We had a couple to do, or at least one, but it was incorrect. Someone wanted to take my place. Not gonna happen. So we're gonna recess at the end of this, and tomorrow morning we'll do those, okay?
I will go fairly quickly and get.
Okay. Number 12, Vice City County Public Health District to consider and act upon the inclusion of the following entities as new members of the Vice City County Public Health District pursuant to section 121.041, the Texas Health and Safety Code. The Town of Bishop Hills, Village of Lake Tanglewood, Village of Timber Creek Canyon, and Village of Palisades. I think Cassie is gonna speak to that, is that correct? Or, okay. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. My name is Sean May. I'm your Environmental Health Director for the Bi-City County Health District. As you guys know, the Bi-City County Health District is all of Potter and Randall counties and any unincorporated and incorporated areas. So, thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. We're here for some administrative business mainly. Just a little bit of background. We have the Bi-City County Health District that was last updated in, I believe it was 1997. We have Potter County, Randall County, we have Amarillo, the city of Amarillo, the city of Canyon. Since that time, we've had some areas within Potter and Randall County become incorporated. So those are those cities that the judge just went through, Bishop Hills and the villages down there. So what we've done is we've, in accordance with Health and Safety Code, to expand the Bi-City County Health District. We went through and went to each one of those newly incorporated areas. I'd say newly, probably in the last 10, 15 years would be my guess. But we've asked them to sign on. They submitted their letters of application. The Board of Health reviewed those. They've issued a letter approving or recommending approval in accordance with the Health and Safety Code. Each governing entity kind of participating in another expression would be a charter member, has to approve the acceptance. And so that's what we're coming to ask you to consider and approve that this morning.
Mr. May, a couple of questions,
Sure.
if I may.
Absolutely.
When you mentioned they become incorporated, will you help me, what does that mean? Have they gone to like a local vote? What does that mean?
Yeah, so by the Department of State, they're registered as a municipality, a corporate, incorporated entity, I think is the word that the state uses. And so they've met some very minimal standards thresholds. I think it's a taxing entity for a lot of their cities. They're pretty minimal. I know that they have a lot of, for different things, local agreements with counties, even the city of Canyon in some cases. But in my experience, they're probably struggle as a small incorporated area. That's why it's really important for them to sign on with this Bi-City County District, because by themselves they could never kind of support the public health and safety activities within their jurisdiction. They would defer to the state without this addition. They did not come and join the Bi-City County Health District. They would become kind of under the state's jurisdiction. And I think in the interest of kind of historically, we have done services in there. The best I can say was really more on a handshake than a formal agreement. So that's what we're doing. We're hoping to do in the next month or so is to come to a formal agreement. But we've been providing services down there for many decades, is my understanding.
And you mentioned that they turned in a letter of intent or
Yeah.
into the state, so if
Well,
you,
no, they turned it into the public health board.
okay.
Yeah.
So do they have a governing board? When you say they, is that
Yeah,
a
so
board
the-
member?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. So the Bi-City County Public Health Board is made up of representatives. Is that your question?
No, my question is more these small municipalities that did
Yes.
their own application.
Right.
Do they have a board? Who is
Yeah, they're gonna
they?
have membership. You talk about the judges, the mayors. Yeah, they have mayors and aldermen for each one of those incorporated areas as required by the state. And so what they will do is we have an agreement with them moving forward that we're not gonna try to pull one representative from each one of these entities. It's just not a sustainable thing. And so they're going to kind of band together and they're going to choose a representative, and that will rotate throughout the jurisdictions so that everybody has representation. I think that's one of the big things, driving forces behind here, is that we had folks that were receiving services from the Bi-City County Health District, but they were not formally onto the agreement, and then they also did not have any representation of the board that oversees those public health practitioners. And so this really brings us into alignment with Health and Safety Code, I believe, 100%.
And is there a cost sharing that goes back to these corporate
Yeah,
municipalities
that's
that
the
you were?
beauty of the Bi-City County Health District is that we are, for all intents and purposes, supported not through any kind of general fund allocation. So the fee is through the fees we collect. We collect some hospital district dollars. And so, but in my experience coming from different venues across the country, you would often have you'd have a fee level, but it would be set and subsidized by kind of a pro rata share. That's not the format that's out here and existed. We don't aim to change that in any way. For my department, specifically environmental health, we are edging closer and closer to being 100% self-sufficient on the fees that we collect. Now, I understand that may not be the most popular thing, but if you look at the alternatives, the alternative is to begin to pull from shares from sales tax or ad valorem tax, right? And so I think we're really targeting the permits, the licensing, the taxing, as you will, to the folks that are mandated to receive those services by the state or by county order or by city ordinance. And so we're really kind of, it is a tax, there is a license, there is a fee, there is a service that is provided, inspections and so forth, consultations. And so I just think it's a really great model, and those fee schedules are set by the Amarillo City Council with input from the Public Health Board. We have representation. If at any time you guys don't like any of the fees or anything like that, then you can bring it to the board and it will go before the council for discussion.
And then one final question. So will you give me just a couple of examples of services that you would then provide? I mean, I hear you say we've loosely done that already, so it's really not a net new.
Right.
It's just more a formal
Yeah.
agreement.
Sure.
So what are some of those services that you would then expand, if you will?
Sure, absolutely. So for environmental health would be septic tank permitting that goes on predominantly out in the ETJ and out in the unincorporated area. That's for the environmental health. Food establishment inspections, restaurants, but it's not just restaurants, it's hospitals, it's child care facilities, it's schools. And so we do a lot of food sanitation inspections in there. We do sanitary nuisance investigations, so that's in accordance with city or county rules, state law. All of those, we enforce every level of those. We do vector control, but that's really just for the city limits right now. We do vector control for there. We pull water samples for private wells out in the county and help folks analyze those to make sure that they understand, the drinking water quality. Let me think, just hazardous materials from your public health department. I mean, a lot of the citizens would go there and receive clinical care. I don't wanna speak too much to steal Casey's thunder, but she can talk to you about some of the services that they provide. They're many and valuable, I believe. But also the last thing I would say is that in an event of a man-made or a natural disaster, both environmental health and public health are going to be key in the recovery and response for communities. So that's really one of the areas that I see it is kind of being really important, this agreement, is that, you know, if something were to happen, we were to go into these unincorporated areas without express authority, there could be some confusion, and there could be some miscommunication that occurs. And if we are at a time of a natural man-made disaster, every second counts.
Yep.
So I don't want to have these kind of jurisdictional debates while we're out there trying to help people. I want to make sure that we have them solidified and secured now.
Yeah, I'm just a little surprised. My experience has been, especially in these small pockets, but Commissioner Church, you would know better. Not so much on the service side, but more on the permitting side. I have found that, you know, outside of city limits, people like, that's one of the reasons they like to be outside the city limits is the looser permitting. So that piece is just in case we get questions, from the people that live in that area. So thank you, because I didn't have.
One thing I always talk about that is that I find it interesting, you know, again, I come from a different state, but we don't have building officials and things like that. So there are, really, when you come down to it, your public health officers and your game wardens are about the only folks that are out there in the county, helping keep people safe and trying to do prevention, I think, really education and prevention for the most part. And so, yeah, you're right, there's not too many regulatory, I guess, governmental entities like us out there in the counties.
Sean, can I say one?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And it was important for us because we know that I grew up in Timber Creek, so like that's a very important piece of this. And so we met with each of those jurisdictions. And that's how we obtained those letters, is we met with them and we spent time talking about this process with them. And so they are, they're very much on board with this process. And so you may receive questions, but we did talk to them. Perfect.
The entity was known as the TCEQ. Do you work along with that?
Yeah, that's usually in my wheelhouse, yes, sir. Yeah, TCQ, basically what happens is you guys passed some orders that allowed what we call designated representatives. I'm one, there's several in my office that act on, you guys are what they call the authorized agent. So TCQ is basically kind of delegated some of their authority to you guys to execute the laws surrounding on-site sewer systems in the county. So we are the designated representatives who do all that work. I like to say we're kind of a subcontractor for TCQ. We have reporting obligations that we have as far as inspections and so forth.
Mr. Mayor, does the fact that you're bringing on these other entities, does that necessitate additional employees, or are you covered pretty well?
They're pretty small jurisdictions. We've been doing that work all along. I don't think so, just by the addition of these different jurisdictions. I don't think that really it has a significant impact on our workload. But I will say this, as a whole, as the department, if you look at where we're at versus the tremendous growth, especially in the food establishment area, we are significantly behind where we need to be. But we are making progress. You know, you will hear people complain about fees. Fees are important because that supports the program, and so that's what we're really trying to do. Just to really quick tell you, fees had not changed in over a decade. When I came here, I did change fees, and I'm sure you feel the complaints made most of it. But here's what I would like for you to consider. When I first arrived here, the general fund contribution from the city of Amarillo was somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000 a year. This last year we took 40, and this upcoming year we're taking 60. That's a significant savings to the city of Amarillo every year. And I think as we bring everybody on board and we have equal fees across there, we have everybody kind of carrying their load, their obligation for it. And I think that, for me, as the person kind of responsible for administering that, I think that's the most fair and equal way to do it.
How many employees do you have?
18.
We have 37.
Thank you, Sean, appreciate that.
I move that we approve the addition of the following entities to the Bi-City County Public Health District. That is the town of Bishop Hills, village of Lake Tanglewood, village of Timber Creek Canyon, and the village of Palisades.
Have a motion and a second on favor, raise your hand. Very much. 13, Five City County Public Health District. To consider and act upon the recommendation that Potter County designate the Five City County Public Health District's Public Health Department to oversee the activities of the Amarillo Area Suicide Review Team, established pursuant to Chapter 672 of the Texas Health and Safety Code, Adult Fatality Review and Investigation. I'm sorry, is it Casey?
It is.
I'm sorry, I
That's
called you
okay.
Cassie.
That's okay.
Okay, Casey, want to talk about this?
I was approached by Jason Riddlesberger, Sergeant Riddlesberger of the Amarillo Police Department 7 months ago, and we were talking about suicide. We're both members of the Panhandle Suicide Prevention Coalition, and so we know that suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in Texas. And we do have suicide here at Amarillo. We average between 35 and 40 suicides per year in the city of Amarillo, and that's per some statistics that Jason and I, or Sergeant Riddlesberger and I, have worked through. And so one of the things that we want to do is have a suicide review team. We do have a child fatality review team, and a number of us sit on that board. And so this would mirror that child fatality review team. And so in Chapter 672 of the Health and Safety Code, it allows for that, an adult fatality review team. And so there are different nuances of an adult fatality review team: domestic violence, suicide, different fatalities that adults might expire from. And so suicide is where we would like to start focusing on. And so we've met with a number of key individuals, and when we talked to the City of Amarillo's legal department, that statute says that this is board at the county level. And so that the county can delegate those duties to a municipal agency, so a district or a public health district. The Bison County Public Health District would be a great place for this to live if you all agree to that. And so Sergeant Riddlesberger and I have agreed to take that on. And I sent a fact sheet for you that talks about the duties of the team and the access to information, confidentiality, different aspects that live in that Health and Safety Code 672 that we would abide by. And so we can go through that if you would like. If you can, just the framework, we don't have that in our packet.
No,
So,
we don't have that.
yeah, if you'll,
Send that to me.
yes, ma'am, I'll do that.
And also the makeup of that.
Yeah, just the high level stuff. Yes, so the duties of the team would be to promote cooperation and communication, develop understanding of the causes and incidents of unexpected deaths in the county or counties, which would be Potter and the counties, would also be searching Laredo County, we can work together throughout our jurisdiction. And then we'll review these deaths, and then have an annual report that we will submit to our Prevention Coalition who can act to prevent suicides. The access to information, according to 672-006, allows our team access to birth certificates, law enforcement data, medical examiner investigation data, juvenile court records, which would allow for mostly that child fatality realm, parole and probation information, and then on request of the presiding officer, again, that law enforcement data, which again would be very confidential, and we have support of the Amarillo Police Department, which is great. And then confidentiality, it is a Class A misdemeanor if anything is shared outside of the team, and so it's a very, very confident space where we review data. There are notes that have to be taken for that final report, but everything is very confident, kept in quiet confidence. The team makeup includes, can include a criminal prosecutor, a peace officer, justice of the peace or medical examiner, public health professional, representative of the Department of Family and Protective Services, mental health service provider, representative of the Family Violence Shelter, witness advocate, representative from battering intervention, community supervision, corrections department, and then members of the review team selected need to represent the community. And you'll see aspects of domestic violence woven in here as well, because teams can review domestic violence as well. And our hope is that once we are well established in reviewing suicides, that eventually we can move into domestic violence as well.
So a question on that, I hear you saying you already have this child fatality structure down, you're mirroring that and trying to take that into the adult realm.
Correct.
And you're gonna take these fatalities in a current state, you're taking these fatalities, getting all the data points, and then you're gonna loop that back to your prevention team, if you will.
Correct.
So since the child model already exists, what are some examples of what will that data help show you on the prevention side? Now, I realize there'll be some nuances, right? It's a different demographic, if you will, but what are things you have seen on to loop back, because the prevention is the key that I think we're all after.
So, I've been part of the child fatality review team for years and years, and so, I can't share specifics,
Right,
but just kind of a for instance. So, like if we had, several drownings, like at Lake Greenbelt or Lake Merritt, we could post signage or even work with our state legislators to encourage, life vest requirements up to a certain age, or different. So there's local change that we can make, and then there's also state change that we can make.
That's helpful. Okay, thank you.
How long has that program been in effect?
The child fatality routine. So Dr. Levy and Jill Farron started that team in probably the 90s, so it's been around a long time.
And do we have statistics that show that what you're doing is decreasing the fatality rate of suicide rate?
I believe so. I'll have to get, they submit an annual report to the state health department each year, and I can get that data back.
To see what kind of effect that you have.
And that annual report would be helpful to loop back, especially if the authority resides with the court and we're just extending that in terms of an agent running that. We probably should be versed on that, so that would be helpful to have an annual report.
And you did say on the makeup is the, constituted as a JP, right?
Correct. And then, JPs are part of the child fatality review team as well, so this isn't a new process for them.
Who sits on that today, the child, what JP?
Each of the JPs that have a death,
Okay.
would represent their case.
Okay.
So the office itself, not necessarily the specific,
Typically, it's the JP that comes. So, Judge Jackson would come.
I make the motion that we approve, the recommendation for Potter County to designate the Bi-City County Public Health Districts, Public Health Department to oversee the Emerald Area Suicide Review Team and formally establish the Adult Fatality Review and Investigation according to Chapter 672 of the Texas Health and Safety Code.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Thank you for your work in our community. It's very important work.
And if I could say something, just thank y'all today. Casey and I have been talking, we are gonna try to be here more often. We need to work with you guys, but we would really, you can see how much fun we are. But no, I just think, Casey and I were talking about it, I think we really would like to work with you guys, moving forward and trying to be here more and provide kind of more information about what we do and answer any questions that you have, so.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of our jurisdiction does intersect. I mean, over 80% of our population is in city proper. So, I think a lot of times when we think county, we definitely think of our rural partners, but Potter County sits in a very unique spot, so it'd be helpful.
Yeah, thank you, and I just think Casey and I, as we draw a lot of background in public health and safety, we maybe don't work on roads or parks or things like that, but we do have a very interesting perspective of how our built environment relates to our public health. So, we just really do appreciate the time. Look forward to you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Number 14, employment items to consider and act upon the following employment item, road and bridge retirement of Gary Priscillius as equipment operator effective December 2018. Sebastian, is he not here today?
No, he didn't want any recognition. 32 years.
32 years. Well, okay.
What if we went over there and surprised him? He's done, he's done. He's like, I make the motion that we approve the employment items as presented.
So,
Have a motion and a second on the table.
Please thank him for his,
Number 15, Potter County projects. Nicholas, do you have anything to talk about today?
Nothing really happening other than Christmas. No projects going on right now.
Okay. That's a good thing, I guess. Joe report, I don't have a report today, the sheriff is out and everyone else apparently is out, so no one got that report. I'm assuming it's probably pretty full because I got the video arrangement reports as we were off for 4 days and the jail was pretty full, so, but no report today. Is there any insurance items today, Chris? Insurance items, session, agenda items for next time? Anything we would discuss?
Judge, oh, I'm sorry. It may be helpful to get an update, I'm assuming the committee has already been meeting with, HOK architects. No, okay, so as the committee maybe starts to formulate, it might be helpful to get updates, because I can obviously know I'm to ask a lot of questions, so I feel like that takes a lot of time. So if we could get small updates, that would be helpful.
Okay.
She's always picking up.
I just gotta be there, because I'll do a little something, we have a lot of ideas sometimes.
Yeah.
In retirement of your employee for 32 years, does the court ever come across
We
as far as signing those?
used to, and something's happened, they just stopped doing it, I don't know if it's the department head,
That's
it's
a
not.
Yeah,
the little certificate.
Absolutely.
I think maybe we should start that back up, what's happened, stuff, I mean, people just stopped asking.
I had asked him if he wanted to come to court, but he didn't.
Well, he doesn't have to come, we can make him a certificate and send it to him, is that okay? Can we do that? Okay. She has the printer that does all that. We'll get one to him, okay?
So we'll all knock on Mr. Rita's house.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so tomorrow is our payroll report, we will discuss number 11 on that at that time too, so we are recessing until tomorrow. It's your turn. Well, I'm sorry. Hold on for a minute.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, appreciate it.